conditions to be able to produce a little bit of circulation again on the northern side of the line here, and now on the at least the center part of the line, because this does extend all the way down to the south into really northern Kentucky. It actually extends pretty far where we have some active severe weather going on, and so far we have not gotten an indication of a tornado on the ground. This is all radar indicated from the National Weather Service with that tornado warning for Pike County until 6:45. So again, this is a statement from the National Weather Service. They were tracking a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, and it was moving to the northeast at around 35 miles per hour. And they have actually issued a new severe thunderstorm warning, and this one actually does include really all of Pike County. This is for the all of Pike County, including the area in the tornado warning, really just warning that entire line. So Waverly, you are now under a severe thunderstorm warning until 7:30. This is going to be for winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. So that's really, those are the two concerns that we have here this evening, is going to be for that potential for a brief tornado. Again, we're looking at that area of rotation. It's not going to be, sticking around that long, but just enough rotation that it could produce a tornado very briefly in Pike County, where we have just those two areas showing up there on the radar picture. Switching it back over to the velocity mode here. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom into that so you can kind of see there's actually several different spots that we're watching here on the radar where we could have some rotation showing up. We have one right there, actually two now in Pike County, where there is potential rotation. Again, this is not confirmed on the ground. It is an indication based on radar showing up that there's some spin in the atmosphere. There's some spin within that line of thunderstorms, and it only takes a few seconds, a few minutes really, to get stronger and produce a tornado, and then it weakens. And so that's what we're watching here. Again, those two areas in western Pike County, another area here just to the south, and another one closer to the border of Kentucky, where again, you got the green and the red really close together. The closer it is and the brighter the colors are, indicates how strong that rotation is. And that's what we are seeing again, 4 different spots along that line of thunderstorms. So not only is it going to be the potential for these storms to produce a brief tornado, it's also going to be that 60 mile per hour wind potential that we have with the severe thunderstorm warnings here for the next short while. So I'm going to switch it back over to the radar picture here just to give you a little bit better idea of what we have going on. We have several tornado warnings in effect. Again, tornado warning there for Pike County, that it goes until 6:45. We also have another tornado warning closer to the border of Kentucky and Ohio. And then elsewhere, we have severe thunderstorm warnings, and the severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued again for the entire county of Pike County, that is until 7:30. So that is for Pike County and Scioto County until 7:30. At 6:24, the National Weather Service was tracking that line of thunderstorms moving east at 35 miles per hour, capable of winds of 60 miles per hour is going to be the concern with that. And it's not only the severe wind and tornado threat, we're also tracking just a large area of heavy rainfall. Really, some of the heaviest rainfall, of course, is focused with the severe weather there in southern Ohio, but also tracking quite a bit of rain, even extending to the north into central Ohio. Columbus, we're getting the rain. We're getting the rain in London. It's now approaching the Lancaster area. If you live in Lancaster, we're not tracking severe weather for you, but we are tracking some thunderstorms that are going to be rolling in here in about the next 10 to 15 minutes, really. We're getting some thunderstorm activity in Newark, non-severe, more thunderstorms around Mount Vernon. So this is affecting a large part of Ohio with just the active weather that we have here today. But as I mentioned, if you are just joining us right now, the time is 6:30 here on your Monday evening, and we are tracking severe weather here across southern Ohio with multiple warnings that are currently in effect. And the main concern right now is with that tornado warning that we have here in Pike County. So this is a tornado warning for about another 14 minutes. And so far, we haven't gotten any indications, any confirmations that there is a tornado on the ground, but there is at least enough showing that there is some rotation within that line of thunderstorms. So I'm going to get an update here from the National Weather Service just to see if they have noticed any changes, any weakenings on that rotation. And so far, there is not an indication that we're seeing any change with that. So if I switch it back over to the velocity mode, again, if you're just joining us right now, if this is the first time you're seeing this, what we're looking at here is basically where the winds are going in different directions. And this is the tool that we use as meteorologists to just give us an idea of what's happening within the thunderstorm. You know, normally we show what I just showed you before, where you have the greens, the yellows, the reds showing up there. That's really just a measurement of how heavy the rain is or how strong the intensity of the rain could be. This actually shows us where we're seeing the winds and going in different directions. So what we're looking for is where we have the green and the red really close together. And what I'm noticing right now, we have a little bit of that here in western Pike County. This area, though, kind of in between, there's a little bit of a gap between where the green and the red show up together. And that's actually a good sign, because if the green and the red were really close together, then we could have a concern about a area of rotation. But we're starting to see some separation, and that's a good sign, meaning that there isn't so much of a threat for a tornado. It's more of a threat that we're starting to see the wind within the storm kind of taking over, taking control, and just kind of winning out in this situation and just kind of pushing the rest of the wind away and not rotating as much. So if that trend continues, then we may see a lessening of that tornado threat here this evening, and more of a concern just for winds up to or over 60 miles per hour. So we still have a tornado warning in effect until 6:45 for Pike County, but further to the east for the city of Waverly, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 7:30, as that warning has gotten extended out to encompass the entire county. So it does appear like this may be the situation where we start to see a weakening trend in the rotation and just a better trend of, less of a tornado threat and a trend towards just a higher wind threat. So there is still a concern with severe weather, of course, this evening, and we are going to be watching that very closely. Now, as I mentioned, we are still tracking this whole line extending further to the south, where we have some thunderstorms and areas of rotation, where we have some storms that are moving really to the north and east here, and this whole line of thunderstorms continues to build to the north and east at a pretty good clip. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it back over to the reflectivity mode here one more time, just to give you an overall perspective of what we're talking about here with this entire line of thunderstorms. So you have the tornado warning again for Pike County. This severe thunderstorm warnings extend all the way from just southwest of Chillicothe down to the south, extending into northern Kentucky. And this whole line of thunderstorms is actually building to the north and east at a pretty good clip. Again, like I said, 35 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and put a track on that just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. So building it all the way down to the south, it's going to be moving to the east-northeast at around 35 miles per hour. So getting that all the way out here, that's going to put it into Waverly, again, with that potential for winds up to 60 miles per hour, getting into Waverly around 6:44, so about 10 minutes for you. And as I mentioned, we're not out of the woods for that area of rotation quite yet. So if you live in Waverly, treat this as a tornado warning. Go to a basement if you don't have a basement. Basically the most interior room in your house. If you have a closet, a bathroom that doesn't have any windows, that's going to be your safest place here just through the duration of the storm. Once it passes and things are starting to lighten up, it's going to be all clear. We're not going to be tracking any more severe weather after this line of thunderstorms rolls through. But for Waverly, for about the next 10 to 20 minutes, I would say it's going to move through pretty quickly with that threat for a tornado. If that does hold true here, we'll find that out here in about 10 minutes if we see that warning extended by the National Weather Service. So again, Waverly here at 6:44, around North Fork Village around 6:50, and getting into Chillicothe, again, this is the northern extent of the line that could still produce some winds over 50, maybe upwards of 60 miles per hour. Getting into Chillicothe around 6:53. Oak Hill, we're talking about around 7:09. Jackson, so still a little bit further away from you. That's going to be into Jackson around 7:10, and getting closer to MacArthur around 7:30. So just about just under an hour from now, this line of thunderstorms will be building into the MacArthur area. And again, this is assuming it's going to hold together. It likely will keep some of its strength over the course of the next hour. The question that remains is it going to still be rotating? Are we still going to have to deal with any rotation within that line of thunderstorms? So far, we did see that other tornado warning dropped. That is good news. We'll see if this tornado warning gets dropped in about just under 10 minutes now, that warning for Pike County until 6:45. If that gets dropped, also going to be good news. And hopefully, as I mentioned, when we were looking at the velocity, the green and the red, showing that separation, it's an indication that we might be changing over to more of a wind threat than the tornado threat. So hopefully that continues and we can be done with any sort of tornado threat here for the rest of this evening. And hopefully the storms just weaken and we're done with the severe weather. That would be nice, and we could just get some good rain, because of course we all know, everyone watching us right now, we've all been wanting the rain here for quite some time. We've seen the drought conditions really expanding, and now we're getting the good rain. But unfortunately, the good rain does come with a threat for severe weather, at least today, before we talk about some more rain in the forecast looking ahead to Wednesday and Thursday. But the focus right now here is going to be, for at least the next few hours, is going to be for that tornado warning and that whole line that is moving across southern Ohio. If you're watching us right now here across the 10 TV viewing area, if you live in Columbus, if you live north of I-70, we're not tracking any severe weather for the rest of this evening. It's going to be just rain, a few rumbles of thunder, some heavy downpours into Columbus. Severe weather not expected. That line is going to stay just to our south and likely going to stay south of Circleville as well. But notice we're getting some pretty good rainfall and even a few lightning strikes showing up there around Circleville heading into Lancaster. There could be some gusty winds. That would be a concern. Gusty winds up to 30, 45, 40 miles per hour or so. But so far, the main line of thunderstorms is staying far enough to the south that we're not tracking any of that severe weather building in here, at least across the Columbus metro, Circleville, and again, even further north, Marion. We're not tracking severe weather. Just going to be some general rain here for the next couple of hours, and then things will start to taper off here later on tonight. So if you live north of I-70, there's nothing to worry about in terms of any severe weather, but there is going to be some thunder and lightning, so just keep that in mind. If you hear the thunder, go indoors. When the thunder roars, go indoors, and just stay safe here this evening. But severe weather threat, again, where we have the severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for areas south of Chillicothe, Waverly area, we have that severe thunderstorm warning for the entire county of Pike County until 7:30, and that does extend a bit further to the south, where we have this, actually just where that little backward C kind of looks like a bow structure. That's where we are talking about a little surge of some higher winds. So this would be the area where we could have some higher winds gusting out ahead of that line of thunderstorms. So if that continues on a northeasterly track, that's going to get it closer to Jackson or maybe a little bit further to the south and east. But this whole line is going to be building towards Waverly, Jackson, MacArthur over the course of the next hour. So let's go ahead and put a track on this. Again, we have a tornado warning in effect until 6:45, so about another 6 minutes on that, and we will have to watch to see if that does get extended here. So let's go ahead and track this out here just to give you an idea. If you're just tuning in here, time is now about 6:40 on your Monday evening, the first day of fall, and we're talking about some active weather here across central and southern Ohio. So tracking everything out here, again, these storms are moving to the east-northeast at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So we're going to extend that out to about 35. So that's putting it here into, let's clear that out, around Waverly. I would say it's going to be a little bit closer to about 6:45 to Waverly. Chillicothe getting closer to about 6:50, 6:56. Areas around Jackson, about 7:05 to 7:15. And then areas around MacArthur, closer to 7:30 and even 7:40. And it's going to really kind of depend right now on how fast it moves. And if it does pick up some steam, it's going to move in a little bit sooner than that. So far, we have been watching these storms with an indication that they're moving at around 30 to 35 miles per hour. But sometimes as we go through the course of the evening, we do see the storms start to pick up a little bit more steam, especially when they start to produce those higher wind gusts. And we'll have to watch to see if that happens. If they start to move at about 40 miles per hour, that's going to put it into some of these cities a little bit sooner. So again, if you're watching us right now, if you live in any of these areas, this is your heads up to start thinking about taking your safe place, go indoors, go to the basement, get away from windows. Even with a severe thunderstorm, it is still a concerning thing because, again, we are talking about a storm that could produce winds up to 60 miles per hour in any of these areas. And that's enough to, that could knock a tree down, that could knock a branch down, and that could be concerning if you're near windows and stuff. So just, again, take a safe place, go to a basement, the most interior part of your house, putting as many walls between you and the outside, especially if you live in Pike County, where we are tracking that current tornado warning. So let's go ahead and dive in this one more time. Again, we have about 4 more minutes on this current tornado warning in Pike County, and we'll have to see if that, again, it gets extended here through the 7 o'clock hour. So switching things back to the velocity picture, and if you're just tuning in right now, I mentioned this before, so I'll mention it again. This is something that we use as meteorologists to give you an idea of what's going on in terms of the wind speeds. And so far, we had indications that there was some rotation within this line of thunderstorms in multiple areas of embedded rotation within the line. And as we zoom things in here, and this is going to really kind of be the telling factor on whether or not we're going to see a tornado warning extended, is we have at least some rotation within the storm, but what I'm noticing is the green where it meets the red. Notice this separation, this line of that very light coloring here. Because we have that separation, this is not an indication that we're seeing very strong rotation, and this to me does not look like an indication that we would have a potential of a tornado developing at the moment. That's not to say that we don't start to see this strengthen a little bit and that green and the red gets a little bit closer together and allows for more strengthening, stronger rotation, and allows for a tornado to quickly spin up. That is still a possibility, and that is still why we have that tornado warning in effect until 6:45, so another couple of minutes here on that storm. But meanwhile, we still have this entire line of storms that is moving through southern Ohio here. And it's not even just the threat for that tornado and winds over 60 miles per hour, but notice these storms are producing a lot of lightning. This has gotten very active here just in the last 2 hours as I was watching these thunderstorms rolling across Kentucky, and then eventually as they crossed the border into Ohio, that's when they really started to tap in some of the energy in the atmosphere and quickly became severe, producing, or at least prompting, the National Weather Service to issue severe thunderstorm warnings and even issuing those tornado warnings where we had some sort of circulation showing up. And even the indication that we're seeing so much lightning with these is also an indication of just how much humidity we have in the air. And it's something that we haven't had for quite some time. We've been dry, we've had a lot of sunshine the last couple of weeks, and this is our first really good round of thunderstorms. And I say good round of thunderstorms, just good round of some good rain. It's just unfortunate that it's coming with some active weather with severe thunderstorm warnings and even that tornado warning for Pike County. And notice we're actually seeing over 300 lightning strikes just within this area. If I were to zoom things out, we'd be talking about even more lightning strikes extending all the way up into central parts of Ohio, where we actually don't have any active severe weather at the time, and we're not likely going to see any severe weather the further north you go. So this is going to be the focus for really the next couple of hours, is going to be all these areas just across southern Ohio. So again, really south of I-70, that's our focus for any active weather, any severe weather with high winds over 60 miles per hour, heavy rainfall, and also a lot of lightning. But notice the storms also do extend up into the Columbus metro with that threat for some heavy rainfall here into at least the next short while. And it does appear, this is actually some good news, that that tornado warning was allowed to expire here at 6:45. So now it looks like we just have a general line of thunderstorms. So I'm going to go switch that back over here. So this is just a general line of thunderstorms now that does still have severe thunderstorm warnings on it currently, but it does not have any active tornado warnings. So as I was mentioning, when we were looking at the velocity, the green and red, there was that separation. So that's an indication that we're starting to see more of a push with the wind, 60 mile per hour wind, straight line winds being a concern versus it being a little bit closer together and causing that area of rotation. Now, I'm not saying that it's totally over for the rest of the night. There is still a potential that we could see a strengthening and some rotation embedded in the line, and another tornado warning getting issued here through the next hour or two. But right now, we do not have any tornado warnings in effect for at least the next short while. So that is really some good news. And we're going to be watching this closely here for the next short while. But for now, I'm going to be watching the storms and any more severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings that are issued here this evening. But for now, I'm going to send it over to Jeff and Yolanda.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've been watching this all day, building from 3 o'clock on, and we're making phone calls down to that area of Pike County, just trying to see what we can see. We'll continue to follow that throughout the night. Do keep it right here on 10 TV. 24/7, you can follow live radar all night long.
Good evening and thank you for joining us here on 10 TV Plus. I'm meteorologist Aaron White, and we have been tracking a bit of active weather here for the last couple of hours now across central and southern Ohio, with a little bit of severe weather and a lot of heavy rainfall and really some good rain here today. Welcome rains after we've just been so dry. Throughout September, we had hardly any rain back in August, and it's good to see some really good rain, and a lot of this is going to be soaking into the ground, and we even have more rain in the forecast. But unfortunately, it's coming with a round of severe weather, and we've been watching that here across southern Ohio. If you were watching us in the last hour, we had active tornado warnings in Pike County. That has since expired. That expired at 6:45, and right now, there are no indications of any potential rotation within these thunderstorms. There are no active tornado warnings, which of course is really good news. We were waiting to see those expire, and it does appear like we are now starting to see this become more of a higher wind potential, and that is why we have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. The storms are near Waverly right now. And actually, we have the storms all the way up to Chillicothe. That part of the storm is not severe, but still, if you live in Chillicothe, if you're watching us right now, likely going to get some heavy rainfall and potential winds gusting over, I would say, 40 miles per hour, at least with the northern extent of the line here into Waverly. That's where we start to see that severe thunderstorm warning extend all the way for Jackson and just south of MacArthur now, this area highlighted in orange. That is a severe thunderstorm warning that goes all the way through the next 30 to 45 minutes as we are tracking this whole line of thunderstorms extending to the east. And what's really the most concerning part about this is where you see what looks like a bow, this bow shape, that's backwards C. That's an indication on radar where we start to see a surge in the wind. We start to see the wind kind of surging back behind into the storm and pushing this all out ahead of it. And that is what's happening. That's why this part of the storms, this part of the line is further east than the northern and the southern part, because this is where we're starting to see the higher core of some more intense wind, the stronger wind speeds. And we're looking at that. So let's go ahead and switch this over to the velocity. So this is where we look to see where the winds are blowing in different directions. So this is a good tool for tornadoes, but it's also a good tool to look at where some of the strongest winds are picking up. And you can kind of see that here where we have that green. That's where it's surging ahead of the line, the main line really. And this is where we're talking about winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour as that continues to track to the east here at about 35 to probably picking up a little bit of speed, probably closer to 40 miles per hour now, moving off to the east. So this is the main concern for any severe weather through the course of this evening. If you're watching us in Columbus, if you live north of I-70, you're getting some rain, you might hear a few rumbles of thunder, but not expecting any severe weather this evening across areas north of I-70 and even a little bit further south of I-70. It's not going to be severe. We're going to see some good rain. We're going to hear some rumbles of thunder, but where we have the active line right now, so really Chillicothe over to MacArthur and I would say southward, maybe this could actually probably extend up into MacArthur. We might actually extend that up into Athens because it does look like it has a little bit more of a north component than just due east. So I would say if you live Jackson, MacArthur, Athens, this line of thunderstorms is going to be heading towards you, especially Jackson. It is on your doorstep right now, likely seeing a fairly strong thunderstorm start, likely getting a pretty dark sky there. And this is going to be fairly intense moving into the city of Jackson in really, I would say, about the next 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and put a track on this line as we are watching it building to the east here, east-northeast. So I'm going to actually build it all the way from the Chillicothe area down through Jackson and down to the south here, and building this out to the, I would say, the east-northeast. I'm at about 38 miles per hour. Again, it could be up to near 40. Right now it's being warned for about 35 mile per hour movement, but that gets it into Jackson. Let's clear that out. Jackson area. There we go. It's going to be in Jackson here just about really a couple minutes. That's on your doorstep right now. So Jackson, you should be in a safe place right now, just away from windows. Just kind of wait out the storm until it passes because it could be producing some pretty high wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour as it is, at least right when the storm hits, that's when you're going to see the first surge of the wind, and then things will start to calm down as you get further into that line of the thunderstorms, as we will likely see some heavy downpours, and then it just becomes just some general rain on the backside where you see the green and the yellow showing up there. That's just some light to moderate rain. So it's going to be the initial burst of wind and rain that's going to cause the most severe concern, and then things are going to start to wind down after that. So again, Jackson here, just a couple minutes. It's going to be near Wellston around 7:19. Getting closer to MacArthur, just about 24 minutes from now, 7:30, and areas around Zaleski around 7:38, and actually getting into the Athens area just about 8 o'clock. So again, this is an early heads up for you in Athens. There is not an active severe thunderstorm warning at the present time, but it does appear like this line is going to hold together, and it's not showing any signs of weakening, at least in terms of the intensity of the rain and intensity of the wind. So again, Athens, this is a heads up. It's still about an hour from you, just under an hour now. So plenty of time to just be aware of what's going on and just watch what's happening with this line of thunderstorms that continues to move to the north and east here at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. So that's moving into Jackson right now. Again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect here. So let's go ahead and just kind of look at that from the National Weather Service here and just see what they're indicating right now for that line of thunderstorms, as it has been fairly intense for really quite some time. And they are warning it for, again, still keeping the 60 mile per hour threshold for the wind. We haven't gotten any indication that it's gotten any more intense. If anything, there has been subtle weakening trend in that entire line, because we've gone from the tornado threat that we had just over the last hour, where we had tornado warnings in Pike County and areas further to the south along the Ohio-Kentucky border. Those have since expired, and we did not get any confirmation of any tornadoes of any damage yet. If you notice anything, if you've seen any active severe weather in your area, if you have seen any trees down, once it is safe to do so, if you are able to, send us a report of any active weather in your area. And you can actually send us a message right now. If you have your phone ready, if you have any active weather in your area, you can send a text message using your phone with just text the number 614-460-3345 for any severe weather reports from your location. If you've noticed any of the high winds, if you notice any branches down in your yard, again, once it's safe to do so, feel free to do that. Text us the number. Again, I'll give you the number here one more time, 614-460-3345. Any damage reports, you can even send a picture to us of any of the severe weather that's affected your area. We always appreciate it, as we will relay that to the National Weather Service so they have a better idea of what's been going on with these thunderstorms that have been rolling across southern Ohio, and less of a threat of severe weather across central Ohio, where we've just seen a lot of good rain really the last couple of hours. We had some heavy rain that moved through the Columbus metro just around 2:45, 3 p.m. That ended, we got a break, and now we're back into the rain here across many areas, really extending all the way from Kentucky all the way up into northern Ohio, where we have just a lot of this good rainfall, good moisture that's been building through. And it's just, I say it's good because, it's good to see the rain helping the drought conditions. It's just bad that it had to come with a bit of active weather with these severe thunderstorm warnings that really do extend from southern Ohio all the way down into Kentucky. So that line does continue pretty far south. And we had that time where we had some tornado warnings, some rotation embedded within that line, and that has since dissipated, that has weakened and no longer is a concern, at least at the present time. And now appears like we are shifting to more of just a wind threat and heavy rainfall threat for the next couple of hours. And eventually, this whole line of thunderstorms is going to continue to build to the north and east, and that's going to eventually clear it out of southern Ohio. It's going to be heading towards areas near Marietta, I do think it's going to stay south of Cambridge. Again, it has that northeasterly component to it, so that would get it closer to Marietta around 9-10 p.m. at the latest. The thing that's likely going to happen, and this is what we're watching for, is now that we're getting closer to sunset, now that our sunsets are a bit earlier, we're likely going to start to see a weakening trend, I would say probably after the 8 o'clock hour. So by 9, it is possible that these warnings are no longer or we don't have any warnings in effect because the line has weakened enough that it's not going to be severe. It would just produce some gusty winds, maybe up to 40-50 miles per hour, and more of a concern for rain. And that's really what we want to see. If we can get rid of the severe weather and just have some good rain, I think we'll be all happy for the rest of this evening. And tracking even more rain in the forecast, looking ahead to Wednesday and Thursday with another round of showers and thunderstorms. That one, not going to bring any severe weather. Locally, there's a chance that we could see some active weather across Kentucky, but for us here in Ohio, we're not expecting any severe weather on Wednesday or Thursday. Just some good rain, some showers, and a few rumbles of thunder, not out of the question. But it's going to be, again, what we're focusing on right now. The time is 7:11 here on our Monday evening. If you're just joining us right now, we've been live here on 10 TV Plus, tracking the latest severe weather, tracking all the showers and storms that are building through. We were tracking more active weather during our 6 o'clock newscast on 10 TV and on 10 TV Plus, where we had some an active tornado warning in Pike County. That has since been expired. That expired at 6:45 and now has been replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning that is now really further to the east. Pike County, you are no longer under any type of warning, just getting some light to moderate rainfall. But that thunderstorm does extend further to the east now with that severe thunderstorm warning. So let's go ahead and zoom back into that one line of thunderstorms, because it's really interesting what's happened here over the course of the last hour or so. And what we're really watching is this line. Notice, think about a bow and arrow. Your bow, it has that kind of backwards C shape to it. And this is an indication where when we see this on radar that we're actually getting some wind surging into the line. And when that actually happens, that's where we would see kind of a push of wind, a little bit more intense wind speeds. And that is why we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for this part of the line and extending further to the south where they're a bit stronger as compared to the northern part here around Chillicothe. If you're watching us in Chillicothe right now, likely getting some good rain, maybe a few rumbles of thunder as well, some heavy downpours, and the wind might be gusting upwards of 20 to 30 miles per hour. But further to the south, that's where we're seeing that surge of wind here, especially with that. So again, I mentioned that backward C shape. So this is what's going on. We got wind that's basically kind of funneling into there and just kind of pushing this further ahead, pushing it away from the main line. If you were thinking about this, normally maybe oriented more north to south, but this part, compared to what's here around Jackson and what's further south, this is further out ahead. So there's a bit of a surge of that wind. And this is where we're talking about 60 mile per hour, maybe as high as 65. Right now, the Weather Service is warning it for 60 mile per hour wind gusts here. Areas, again, near and south of Jackson for a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for, again, the next short while. So we're going to be watching this here sometimes, and not all the time. Sometimes when we have this happen, it surges out ahead of it. You get the wind kind of moving out ahead of it, and it creates what is sort of like a gust front, where you kind of get the winds gusting out ahead of the line of storms. And when that happens, and again, if it does happen, it's not always a guarantee. It doesn't happen with every situation like this, but sometimes it does cause a weakening with the line. And that is something I'll be watching for here. If we have that little gust out ahead of the line, we may start to see some weakening with this entire line and weaken them enough that they're no longer severe. And that would be great news, and we could maybe be done with the severe weather for the rest of the night and then just focus in on just getting some good rain here for the next several hours. But at least for the time being, again, the time now 7:15 with this severe thunderstorm warning that is currently in effect here for areas around Jackson, just south of MacArthur. But if you live in MacArthur right now, this line is still building to the north and east. So let's go ahead and put this in motion here. And notice it's not even just that threat for rain and threat for wind. These storms are also producing a lot of lightning. You're likely hearing a lot of thunder in Jackson, seeing a lot of flashes of lightning, something we haven't had in quite some time. We had some storms around yesterday, not as widespread as this, but before yesterday, you had to go all the way back to September 4th, where we had any rain really in the area. We had a couple showers and storms around Cambridge back on Saturday, but any widespread rain, that was way back in early September. And we all know we haven't had a lot of rain since really June and July. We had more showers and storms that have rolled through. August was pretty dry. September has been pretty dry up until now. And it's just more unfortunate that's come with this bout of active weather on the first day of fall. We're not really talking about fall-like weather. We're talking about more spring, summer-like weather with these showers and thunderstorms. And I will say it's not unusual to get some severe weather into the fall season. It does happen in September. It happens in October even, and can even happen all the way into November here across Ohio. It's just a little bit more common, I guess I would say, in the spring and summer months. But this is what's happening here, at least today. Again, we have severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect for the next 30 to 45 minutes. These storms are rolling to the east-northeast, and eventually they're moving through Jackson right now. Jackson, you're getting some torrential rainfall, a lot of lightning, likely had some really gusty winds. And now this whole line continues to build to the north and east. That's going to bring it into MacArthur and eventually heading towards Athens. And what's also happening out ahead of the line, this is a bit further to the east, we are getting some more thunderstorms that have developed ahead of that main line. Now, these ones are not severe, not expecting this to become severe, but likely producing some heavier rainfall as that continues to build off to the northeast towards Marietta. We are getting some showers into Athens. We're getting some good rain now into MacArthur, and even a lot more rain extending all the way to the north. So it's not even just areas that are getting severe weather. A lot of locations, including the Columbus Metro, Lancaster, Marion, Mansfield, back to the south and west, Washington Courthouse, Circleville, we're all getting that much needed rainfall. The rain that we've been waiting for quite some time, it's all happening here today, and we have more in the forecast looking ahead to Wednesday and Thursday. So let's go ahead and look back at this here a little bit closer. So again, here's the line. This is the live radar picture. So what we were just looking at with the lightning, that was a loop of the radar over the last hour to just give an idea on the overall track, where the storms are moving. And so what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and place a tracker on this to give you some times on where the storm, where that line is going to be moving through. So let's go ahead and move the map just a little bit more. So just bear with me for a moment here. So we're going to move that back, and let's go ahead and put a track on this here. All right, so we're going to extend this all the way just south of MacArthur and just around that bow right down in there. And again, this is moving off to the east, a little bit more northeast, I would say. And we're going to bring that up to about 37 miles. Whoops, let's try that again. All right, let's see. We're going to bring that up to about 30, I would say 35 miles per hour. Looks like the computer's doing something wonky there. Let's try that again. All right, so draw this there. Okay. So again, north of Jackson, all the way down here. And this is moving off to the north and east at about 35, 30, we'll say 39 miles per hour there. So again, that's going to put it into areas now to the northeast of Jackson. So that's getting into MacArthur about 7:30, 7:33, give or take a few minutes. This is getting closer to areas around Alexander around 7:52. We also got Athens just about 8 o'clock. I would say right around the top of the hour. This line will be moving through Athens, and it could still be severe. That's going to be the concern, is if it starts to weaken a little bit. We're not seeing that indication right now that there is any weakening going on, as we still have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. And so what's likely going to happen here, probably in about 10 minutes now at 7:30, when this line gets a little bit further to the edge of the severe thunderstorm warning, we may see an extension going up into Athens County. Now, that's not a guarantee. If the National Weather Service is also starting to notice maybe a little bit of a weakening trend and we're not getting any reports of any severe weather, then the warning may not be extended, and that could be the end of it here for tonight. But right now, based on what I'm seeing with the look of the storms and also what I'm seeing with the wind speed within the thunderstorms, is they are still producing winds potentially up to 60 miles per hour. Even if it's not 60, they could still be producing some winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour, which is still enough. They're still strong enough that that could knock down some small branches, could knock down some of the older trees, some of the trees that may have a little bit of rot in them. So that would also be a concern. Any tree that gets knocked down, of course, is always a concern, and it doesn't always take winds of 60 miles per hour. That's what we see severe thunderstorm warnings for, but sometimes you can get those winds of 40 to 50, and that could also cause some problems. So we are watching this line very closely, again, as it tracks to the north and east here at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. So putting that into motion here, again, this is where we have that main line. This is the only area where we have any active severe weather. Now, zooming things back towards the Columbus metro, and we've been getting some good rain here for at least a little while now. And notice we have a lot of yellow and orange showing up. So this is at least some moderate rain that's building through areas around Gahanna, down towards Grove Fort, back into downtown Columbus, Upper Arlington, Dublin, and the northwest side. The rain's a little bit lighter. We did have some heavier rainfall earlier this afternoon and evening, but it looks like some of the heavier activity is now focused a little bit further to the south and east on the southeast side of the metro. But now zooming out, here's the larger picture, and just kind of take a look at how large area of the rain that this really encompasses. The rain goes all the way now from parts of Pennsylvania back through Ohio down into Kentucky. We had some of that rain that moved through Indiana and even western parts of Kentucky earlier this afternoon. And now it continues to build to the east. So we're seeing just a large complex of showers and storms all the way down now from Cleveland through Columbus, down through Lancaster, down through Chillicothe, Circleville, heading towards Jackson with that line of severe weather. And currently the only severe weather we have really in the region has now shifted out of Kentucky and is now into southern Ohio and western parts of West Virginia. But there are currently no active tornado warning, as it is just really that line of thunderstorms here where we have that currently that active severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect again around Jackson for at least the next short while. So again, that is for severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect until 8 p.m. So that's going for about another 37 minutes that we are watching this severe thunderstorm warning. Again, the National Weather Service was warning for winds of 60 miles per hour, and it does appear like it has picked up a little bit of speed now, up to 45 miles per hour. So again, I think what's happening, as I mentioned, if you're just joining us right now here on 10 TV Plus, I was talking about what we're looking at on the radar picture here, and what's kind of interesting is just the shape of the storms, this line of storms. So notice the line extends all the way back here into Chillicothe, and it goes to the south and east through Jackson now. Jackson, you're likely seeing the rain starting to taper off. It extends all the way out to the east, and then it goes back to the south and west. So it has this backward C, this sort of a bow-shaped structure, and that's an indication where we would see some of the surge of wind. So what's happening in here is we're actually getting a surge of that wind through the thunderstorms here, through this complex, basically kind of surging in through there and all the way basically just like that. And that's pushing the storms a little bit further along, at least this part of the line, as compared to the areas further south and the areas further to the north. So when this happens, that's where we could see a gust, a little bit stronger gust of wind up to 60 miles per hour. But this is also a reason why this part of the line may be moving a little bit faster, as we were talking about winds, or talk about the storms moving at about 35 miles per hour. But now it looks like we're starting to see that happening. So the storms are actually moving out about 45 miles per hour, at least with this part of the line. Now, sometimes when this happens, this part is, if it's moving a little bit further than the other part of the line, it can also cause the storms to weaken a little bit because they start to become a little bit stretched, if you will, and that can pull some of the energy away and eventually lead to a weakening trend. Now, that's not always the case, and so far we're not seeing that be the case with this line of thunderstorms, and that's why there is still a warning in effect here until 8 p.m. So that gives us about another 34 minutes with the severe thunderstorm warning for Jackson County, and this is now getting closer to MacArthur, so we will have to watch to see. I wouldn't be surprised, based on what we're seeing here, even with this northern end of the line, now that that's going to be pushing to the north and east, getting into MacArthur, that we could see another severe thunderstorm warning extended to the north and east, getting into MacArthur and getting into Athens here past the 8 o'clock hour. Because as I mentioned, if you were watching us just in the last 10 to 15 minutes, I had a track on this storm getting it closer to Athens around 8 p.m. So let's go ahead and put another track on that. If you're just joining us right now, give you a timing on where the line is and what time it may arrive here this evening. So let's go ahead and look at Jackson, look at MacArthur, right in there around that bow and back towards the south and west. So this is moving to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So I'm going to go ahead and step off the screen here and let's get a good track on that. Bring it back down right about there. So again, that's going to be putting into towards Athens around the, let's go ahead and clear that out. That's going to be putting in towards Athens around, I would say, just about 8 p.m. So I know this says about 8:09. I think it's going to be a little bit closer to the 8 o'clock hour. This is getting in towards MacArthur, really just in the next 5 minutes. MacArthur, it's literally on your doorstep now. So if you live in MacArthur, again, we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning right now. You're likely going to get some gusty winds, potentially gusty up to 40, maybe as high as 50 miles per hour. What you're also going to get is a lot of good rain. I mean, these storms are producing some torrential rainfall, and notice also here on the northern end of the line, we're also getting a lot of lightning that's moving over Jackson. Pretty loud thunder, I'm sure, in Jackson. Likely hearing some of that now into MacArthur, getting even some thunder and lightning into Chillicothe, and now just clearing out of the Waverly area. So Waverly, again, we were talking about we had that tornado warning in Pike County earlier, just about an hour ago. That was for west of Waverly. That was for central and western Pike County. That has expired, but now we're just talking about some general rain. No more severe weather, so if you are watching us in Pike County, we're not anticipating any more severe weather here for the rest of this evening and tonight. The main line has moved through and now really going to be clearing the area here for the rest of tonight. So definitely some good news there with what's going on really across Ohio. And now we're just going to be talking about some good rain for, I would say, this evening, tonight, and then more rain in the forecast as we look ahead to Wednesday and Thursday. So it's what we've been wanting, the rain. We've been waiting for the rain for quite some time. I mentioned this earlier. It's just unfortunate that it had to come with a bit of severe weather. But we'll get it through here. Things will clear out and things will quiet down here just about a couple hours from now. I would say before 10 p.m. we should be done with the severe weather across central and southern Ohio, as really this line is now continuing to build to the east. And right now it does appear like the stronger end of the line will be moving into West Virginia, and maybe this northern line will be affecting areas around MacArthur, Athens, and then eventually up towards Marietta. But it does look to stay south of Cambridge and areas just to the north of Athens, really just staying, I would say it's going to be affecting Athens and MacArthur, but not really getting too much further north of that with any potential severe weather. Now, there's still going to be some good rain. We're seeing that all the way up into Lancaster, getting a lot of showers and a few rumbles of thunder around Lancaster, back towards Circleville. Chillicothe, seeing that as well, and it really is just going to continue for at least a few more hours, and we'll have a recap of some of the rainfall coming up later on tonight at 11 o'clock here on 10 TV. So tune into 10 TV for just an update on some of the rainfall amounts that we've had. And I'm sure once I have some downtime to look at some of the numbers, they have been fairly impressive. I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen over an inch of rainfall in some locations here today. And I mentioned it earlier with our forecast. We're tracking more rain Wednesday into Thursday, and Wednesday's rain, especially in the morning hours, could be fairly heavy. And right now there are indications that from what we had yesterday through today, so take yesterday's rain, take today's rain, take Wednesday's rain, and take Thursday's rain, put it all together, and we're talking about rainfall amounts anywhere from 1 to upwards of 3 inches across central and especially southern Ohio. Some of the heaviest rain looks like it's going to be near and south of I-70, but that's not to say we're not going to get some good rain across the entire state. We've already had some pretty good rainfall here, even into northern Ohio through today, and more is in the forecast. So thankfully, after tonight, after this evening really, we're not tracking any more severe weather across Ohio. Tomorrow, Wednesday, or Thursday, just some good rain. So a couple more hours, we'll deal with the severe weather, and things will start to quiet down here for the rest of tonight. So again, just mentioning here, the time is now 7:32, and we still have that severe thunderstorm warning. But I'm noticing now, you'll see that here, this is the live radar picture. You just saw that sweep go by. So this is the latest update on the radar here at 7:32. And we're getting closer to the edge of the severe thunderstorm warning right in here. So going to be watching the next few minutes, likely as we get closer to 7:40, maybe even before that, we may see the warning extended to include maybe MacArthur, but definitely closer towards Athens, as this is where that is tracking now. Let's go ahead and put that into motion here. Let me go back to that. There we go. So putting that into motion, you can see the track building it to the north and east. So that would be taking it towards Athens if it is still strong enough. And there have been some indications that there has been a little bit of weakening going on, mainly because of what happened in the last hour. We went from seeing some rotation embedded in the line. Those have since ended. We're not seeing any sort of tornado threat. We're now seeing more of a wind threat. And because it's starting to push out from the line itself, that could also cause a little bit of weakening to occur elsewhere in the line, especially on the northern extent of it. So we will have to watch that if we see that severe thunderstorm warning extended further downstream towards Athens or even into MacArthur. But really the storm is over MacArthur right now. Torrential rainfall, a lot of lightning. You can see all that lightning right in there, over 350 strikes just in the last, and actually notice it actually just came down here, and so it's kind of fluctuating. So that's also an indication that we're starting to see maybe a little bit of a drop in the number of strikes. It was over 350, actually it's back up to 350. So maybe not dropping too much with the number of strikes here, but still, it is still pretty strong. So what we're also looking at is how much rain is falling. So notice some of the darker spots here and there. That's an indication we are likely getting some very heavy rainfall, even just for a brief window, right into MacArthur. It's on your doorstep right now, so it might still be some light rain if you live on the east side of town. West side of town, likely already getting the heavy rainfall, and it's going to be over the entire town really in the next couple of minutes. And then it stretches now east of Jackson, so if you live in Jackson, if you're in Waverly, if you're in Chillicothe, not worried about any severe weather this evening. Columbus Metro, if you're watching us right now, we're not worried about any severe weather this evening. All we're worried about is going to be some rain, some thunder and lightning, and maybe some winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour, but nothing that's going to cause any problematic, any severe weather. That is focused here with this line. It is focused near and south of MacArthur. Again, now building east of Jackson County. And it is moving really outside of our immediate viewing area. If you watch this on 10 TV and 10 TV Plus, it's really affecting areas closer to the West Virginia border here in the next 30 minutes. And what I'm going to be watching for is if we see this northern end get extended up into Athens County, that's going to be the concern here, at least in the next few minutes. So let's go ahead and see. Just going to bear with me just for one moment so I can get an update from the National Weather Service on anything that's been happening here. And let's go ahead and just take a look at some of the reports as well. So what we're looking at here, and there it goes. So these are all of the, really any storm reports that we've seen in the last, few minutes, the last hour or so. And so far, any active weather, these reports that you see there along the border of Kentucky and Ohio, those are the only severe weather reports that we have seen sent into the National Weather Service. So multiple trees down on US 52, that again near the border of Kentucky and Ohio, near Ripley, and that was in Brown County. This one also near the border. This was around 6:13, so this was earlier where we had a couple reports of some wind knocking some trees down with that. Again, it's the same line that produced some severe weather early on. So now that the main line is clearing some locations, especially areas around Jackson, areas around just to the west there around Waverly, now that things are starting to clear a little bit more, if you notice anything in your area, if you've seen any active weather here, just back to the west, areas around Waverly, even into Chillicothe and Jackson now that things are clearing out. If you have noticed anything, even if you just got a lot of rainfall, if you have a rain gauge and want to send us a rainfall amount, you can always do that as well, once it is safe to do so. So wait a little bit longer once the lightning and the more intense storms have cleared your area to go get a rainfall measurement. If you have any storm damage, if you notice any branches down in your yard or even down the street, like I said, once it is safe to do so, if you notice that, you can always send us a message. You can always even take a photo and text it to us. I'll give you the number here. If you want to send us a message with a storm report or even a photo of some of the damage, you can send it to 614-460-3345, and it'll actually be sent directly to this laptop here, just so I can see what's going on, again, with any of the reports that you have across southern Ohio. But so far, based on what we've seen from the National Weather Service, is there hasn't been any really strong indications that we've seen these storms producing any damage, which is definitely good news. There may be some small branches down, even if we get winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour with potential up to 60 with these storms, they can still knock some branches down, especially on some of the trees, some of those older trees, and some of the ones that maybe have some rot in them if they're diseased. It doesn't take a lot of wind to really cause those to get knocked over, and even some of the branches to get knocked off and fall down onto a road or things like that. So that's going to be a concern here. Even if the storms do start to weaken, they could still produce some pretty gusty winds as they are heading into Athens and heading towards MacArthur now over the next, really the next 20 to 30 minutes. So the time right now, just coming up on 7:40, it is 7:39. And so far we have not seen an extension of that severe thunderstorm warning. So I would say that's good news. It's still possible that the National Weather Service is just looking over everything before they decide to issue another one downstream. But even if not, even if there's no severe thunderstorm warning, these are still dangerous thunderstorms because they are producing gusty winds up to near 60 miles per hour, 40, 50, 60 miles per hour, all possible. They're also producing torrential rainfall and a lot of lightning. Just within this area that we're looking at here, southern Ohio from Lancaster down to the south, all these storms are producing over about 300 lightning strikes just in the last 15 to 30 minutes. So quite a bit of activity in terms of the lightning, and that's also a sign of just how much more humidity we have around here today. Our dew points got up into the 60s. We haven't seen that for quite some time, so that means our temperatures are only going to drop down in the 60s here tonight. Many nights the last few weeks, we've had overnight lows in the 40s and 50s. We're back to more of that warm and humid conditions here, and that's just been the fuel today for the showers and storms, and that's why we saw a pretty quick upgrade. If you were watching yesterday, meteorologist Mike Joyce was in tracking the showers and storms yesterday evening as we had some severe thunderstorm warnings rolling through the Columbus metro, but also looking at that potential for risk for severe weather here today. Yesterday, though, it was on the lower side. Right yesterday, the indications from the computer projections were that there was going to be some rain out ahead of the line, out ahead of the main source of energy, and that would kind of, settle things down and not allow for much to happen later on in the afternoon. But that wasn't the case this morning, so we saw an upgrade to a level 2 risk out of 5, went from level 1 to level 2, so a bit of an upgrade. And this is the case. This was the result. We had thunderstorms that quickly developed after about 3 p.m., getting closer to 4 p.m., and now they continue to build to the east and now moving outside of that severe thunderstorm warning area. So it looks like they may not issue this further downstream. That's definitely some good news, as that could mean that there is a bit of weakening going on with that line of storms, and we'll have to watch to see if that continues to be the case. So right now, this is what we're looking at here as we have that whole line extending from near MacArthur just to the south and west of Athens and down into really far southern Ohio into northern parts of West Virginia, where we do still have a little bit more active severe weather. So what I'm going to do now, let's go ahead and put a track on the storm one more time here, and just kind of looking at this a little bit more detail. Again, this is moving to the north and east at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. So building that into the north and east, that's going to put it into areas around Logan, about 750. And Logan, I would say probably not, we're not going to see the severe weather. We could see some gusty winds, I would say maybe up to 40 miles per hour. But right now, because that's the northern end of the line, the indications are not that great for any higher wind potential. So 40 miles per hour at best. It probably is going to be less than that. So good news, at least for Logan, in terms of those higher winds. You are going to get some heavy rainfall. You're already getting the rain right now, but more rain moving in here over the course of the next hour. For Athens, again, this is now a little bit sooner. Again, the storm did pick up a little bit of speed because it's surging out ahead. So Athens about 7:56, so about another 13 minutes to move into Athens, so just before 8 o'clock. And then getting into the area around Marietta, so all the way to the east there, around just after 8:30. So what is going on though right now is, looking at this picture here, it does appear like, even just looking at the radar now, we're not seeing as bright of colors here. We're not seeing as much red all the way through the line. We're not even seeing as many of those darker spots of the darker reds showing up here, especially on the northern end. And so this could be an indication that the storms are really starting to weaken, and also probably the reason that we're not seeing another severe thunderstorm warning getting issued further downstream there for Athens County. So I'm going to check in with the National Weather Service just to see if they've given any more updates on what's been going on with those storms right now. And so far, not seeing much. But it does appear like they are in agreement. They did actually just give an update just a couple of minutes ago, saying that they're not really seeing any more indication that potential, again, that there's going to be more severe weather. So like I mentioned, it looks like as that was kind of gusting out a little bit, it caused a weakening trend in this entire line. So definitely some good news. So we're likely going to wrap up our coverage here on 10 TV Plus in just another couple of minutes. as we are really seeing this weakening trend and now just getting some good rainfall here across the area. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and reset a couple of things, and I'm just going to give you a quick update on the forecast now that we are tracking the severe weather threat really coming to an end. But I do want to look ahead for you about what we are tracking as we go into later in the week, as we have more rain in the forecast here as we get into really going towards Wednesday and Thursday. So this is what we have going on right now. Again, a large complex of showers and storms that is moving across Ohio, and it is getting closer to ending in, I would say, about the next hour for areas around Columbus. London, we're on the backside of the rain. We're on the backside of the rain in Washington Courthouse as well. It does extend down to the south. Areas around MacArthur, getting closer to Athens here in about the next 10 minutes. Showers and storms are expected, and these are going to be producing winds up to 40, maybe as high as 50 miles per hour. The severe winds up to 60, not as high of a threat. So I would say winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour, greater concern than the higher winds, as this is really kind of surging now to the north and east. And even if we don't see those high winds, and hopefully we don't, we just get some good rain, but there is also a lot of thunder and lightning with this entire line as it is building towards the northeast into Athens, MacArthur, over towards Marietta, and even a couple of thunderstorms out ahead of that line. And it looks like maybe the main severe threat is going to stay a bit further south and be focused more into northern West Virginia for the rest of the evening. So we'll watch that closely through this evening. If we have any more severe warnings that are issued, of course, we will come back here onto 10 TV Plus and let you know about anything that's going on in the immediate area. But like I said, it does appear like things are starting to wind down just a bit for really all of us. And actually getting another update here, so let's just bear with me just for one moment as we take a look at this latest update. And my guess is it's going to be that we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect anymore, and more of a concern for those stronger thunderstorms. And yep, that's exactly what it is. So National Weather Service is looking at a strong line of thunderstorms moving through areas around Vinton County and Athens County. And they are warning this for wind gusts up to 40 to 45 miles per hour. So just like we were talking about just a few minutes ago, that weakening is going on. And so now still potential for those higher gusts, but doesn't look like we're going to have much of a severe weather threat for the rest of the night. So this is what the outlook for today did pretty much line up where we had those thunderstorms just a little bit not as far north. So thankfully, good news, we didn't have any severe weather into the Columbus metro. We did have some pretty heavy rain and some gusty winds, at least with that earlier round of storms earlier this afternoon. So going through the hour-by-hour forecast by 10 p.m., most of this is all well to our east. And then tonight, maybe a few showers and storms expected. Not really a lot of activity here overnight, and could see a couple showers going into our Tuesday morning. That all winds down, and then we actually get a little bit of sunshine here to wrap up the day. But watch this. This is Wednesday morning. Look at all that. That's a lot of rain building through here for really the morning commute on Wednesday and through about midday on Wednesday. Still some good rain, and this likely going to stick around for, I would say, anywhere for 4, 5, 6 hours of rain Wednesday morning. And that's enough to bring us some good amounts, anywhere from 1 to 2 inches. Maybe a possibility here for many across central and southern Ohio, even getting into northern Ohio here around midday on Wednesday. So really watching that closely. Now, this is a map. This is actually looking at the rainfall over the course of the next several days. So not factoring in yesterday and not factoring in what happened earlier today, but over the course of really today, the rest of this evening, tonight, and going into Wednesday and Thursday, this is what we're looking at. Anywhere you see blue or higher, blue, purple, or red, that indicates at least a ½ inch of rainfall. Where you see the lighter blue, again, we're getting up here, that's at least an inch of rain. So where we are looking at Columbus, and especially even up to Marion, back towards Dayton, Chillicothe, and down towards the Oak Hill, Athens, Circleville area, we're looking at anywhere from 1 to upwards of 2 inches of rain through the course of the next several days. So this is really going to help with the drought conditions across the state, and it's been welcome rain. And thankfully, what we're tracking on Wednesday, we're not tracking severe weather with that. It's just going to be some good, just general rain and maybe a few rumbles of thunder here for Wednesday morning. But right now, as we go through tonight, 63 degrees, showers and storms, especially before midnight. A couple scattered showers are possible here after midnight as well. Tomorrow, though, we'll get up to about 77 degrees. A couple showers in the morning, maybe lingering into the afternoon. But I think we'll get some sunshine here for your Tuesday afternoon as well. And then looking ahead to the extended forecast as we go into next week, we are tracking temperatures to be up into the mid-70s here for really a cool down, mid-70s here for Wednesday and Thursday with that rain around. And honestly, wouldn't be surprised with some of that rain. It may actually be a little bit cooler, especially on Wednesday. So we may actually have to drop that high temperature down into the lower 70s as that rain really sticks around through much of the morning into the early afternoon. And then by Friday for high school football, things are clearing out and looking better here for the weekend with a lot more sunshine and temperatures back up into the upper 70s and even lower 80s here for early next week. So again, that'll probably do it for us here today on 10 TV Plus, at least in terms of any severe weather that is going on. That severe thunderstorm warning is still in effect. The National Weather Service is going to allow it to expire. It does expire at 8 p.m., so it likely will drop off there at 8 p.m., and we're not seeing any extension of the warning, just a strong thunderstorm producing winds of 40 to 45 miles per hour as it continues to the east and continues to the northeast into Athens. So again, Athens moving in pretty quickly here in about the next 10 minutes or so. I would say less than 10 minutes, really, 5 to 10 minutes. It's going to be bringing some heavy rainfall. I would say winds of 30 to upwards of 45 miles per hour, but nothing too stronger than that. So keep an eye on it. We'll be watching it for you here as we go through the course of this evening, but because there's no more active warnings, that's going to do it for us here on 10 TV Plus. But if we do have any more warnings that are issued, I will have an update again on 10 TV Plus if there's any more warnings that are issued here for the next while. Otherwise, tune in tonight at 11 o'clock to 10 TV as I will recap the storms that happened here today, but also give you an idea how much rainfall we had, as I'm pretty sure there's some good amounts. I wouldn't be surprised if we had over an inch of rainfall for several locations, and I'll update you on the forecast looking ahead to that rain here for Wednesday and Thursday. So that'll do it for us here on 10 TV Plus. I'm meteorologist Aaron White.
Hi everybody, I'm Doug Petcash. I'll be bringing you through this week's top stories from around Columbus. It's been more than a year since the city of Columbus was hit by a cyber attack. The city promised to put out a report about what led up to it, but it still has not been released. We pushed for answers from the mayor on how the city is keeping your information safe from hackers. Also, the price of beef is up 14% compared to last year. We learned that it's a classic case of low supply and high demand. We also learned that these prices may not be going down anytime soon. Plus, the CDC is sounding the alarm on a disease transmitted from an insect called the kissing bug. They're common in Ohio, but they carry a disease that is potentially deadly. Experts share what you can do to keep you and your family safe. So let's dive into these stories and more making headlines across our city.
Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther first said the city was having issues because of the CrowdStrike update. Then he later admitted to me that the city had shut itself off from the internet because of a cybersecurity attack. Well, we are still waiting to hear exactly what happened through the attack.
Last year, you promised the investigation report would be made public at the first quarter of this year. When will it be made public?
Well, we continue to work closely with the folks that are helping us do this. As you know, there are a number of legal cases involved, and so we're trying to make sure we're protecting the taxpayers.
Last summer, the city had announced it had suffered a cybersecurity attack, saying an employee downloaded a file that opened the door for thieves to get into the city's system. The city has not released more information about who that employee was or explained more about how the thieves got access to all of the city's and likely your private data.
Any idea what the timeline is when it will be made public? No. Have any city employees been disciplined or have any arrests been made in this attack?
I don't believe so, but the investigations may still be ongoing by FBI, Homeland Security, and other folks that are involved.
The city has now spent millions in updating its internal systems to try to prevent the massive data breach and attack from happening again.
Made a significant investment both in the capital budget and the operating budgets to enhance our efforts around cybersecurity. As you know, we just passed through council in the last couple of months a $23 million investment in Zero Trust Networks.
Of course, we'll keep asking the mayor questions until we hear exactly what happened. In Columbus, Lacey Crisp, 10 TV News.
It's unbelievable.
Mamadi Tarori is talking about this growing pile of trash in the alley outside his home.
And tires, chairs, food.
The city calls it an illegal dump. Residents say they've alerted the city multiple times about the garbage, and each time the city says it's picked it up, but the garbage dumpers keep coming back.
And we are grateful to have you guys here and just try and help us and send this message for people to realize what is going on in this neighborhood is not the right thing to see or to do.
We called the city to come out to the location to get some answers.
It's been picked up, I believe, 4 times.
The city sent out an illegal dumping investigator to try to figure out if the garbage contained information that could tie it back to the person or persons responsible.
We see it throughout the entire city, just dump piles, people coming and just dumping random stuff in the alleys, on the fronts. We see it a lot of our parks and recs facilities.
As for Mamadi Tarori, who came to America from West Africa in search of a better life, he says what's happening outside his home is a huge disappointment.
It's not the right place to have this type of stuff behind your house.
The city hopes to have its investigation wrapped up in a few days and have this garbage removed by Saturday. Reporting in Linden, Kevin Landers, 10 TV News.
What are you noticing with the prices?
It's doubled.
There's no question about it. Shoppers are paying more for beef at the grocery store.
I was mostly chicken now.
Yeah.
And I'm getting tired of chicken.
But those who don't want to shell out extra cash for beef might be eating chicken a while longer.
This is a boneless beef ribeye.
At Falter's Meatpacking, their wholesale prices for beef have gone up astronomically.
Instead of paying in the neighborhood of $12 a pound early last year, you're now looking at 18 to 20 before you do any of the work required to turn it into steaks.
According to the USDA, there were about 45 million beef cattle in 1975, compared to about 29 million today. Despite fewer cows available, Jason Falter says people are not changing their diets.
And in fact, we've seen steady to higher demand over the past few years.
The prices forcing local restaurants to beef up their creativity.
You're going to see some interesting things like chicken in chili. We noticed that we were with their Skyline friends, and they now have a chicken chili that they're testing. And so you might see more things like that.
So if you're going out to eat, should you be prepared to pay higher prices for beef items on the menu?
Yeah, I think you're going to be prepared to pay a higher price for beef items. There's going to be a few exceptions to that. I think that you might see some of the quick serve restaurants, particularly the big chains, be able to kind of get through this easier than maybe our mom and pop and independent restaurants.
Restaurants are prepared for prices to stay high through at least 2027. But even still, people are opting for the beef.
People like their beef, right? And I just don't see that changing. And so the demand, I think, is going to stay high.
Here at Falter's, they're already looking ahead to the holiday season where they're expecting high demand for beef. That means prices could go up even more. Reporting in Columbus, Carla Rogner, 10 TV News.
At midnight on October 12, 2022, Marion City Police rushed to this home for a man with a gunshot wound to the head.
What's the address?
Inside, they found 38-year-old Joshua Goodrich.
He's still breathing right now.
This body camera video shows the moment two responding officers tell a medic that Joshua seems to be breathing, but the medic disagreed.
That's obvious death.
The EMS run report shows a critical decision. That medic called a local emergency room doctor asking if they should try to revive Joshua. But based on what they described over the phone, the doctor told them it wasn't needed. 8 minutes later, officers say they see Joshua move.
He was just moving.
But the medic's decision stands until the assistant coroner arrives and confirms Joshua was still breathing. He was then rushed to the hospital about an hour after crews first got to the house, and records show he lived for another 3 hours.
If it wouldn't have been for the coroner, they would have just waited there for him to die.
Now Joshua's family is suing.
Do you believe if they had acted differently that your brother would be here right now?
Yes, I believe he would have survived. To what extent and mobility and what he would have been able to do, only God knows that. But I believe with medical help, he would have been alive.
That's his big brother, Donald Goodrich. The wrongful death suit he filed claims emergency workers were negligent. It names the city of Marion, both medics, and several others connected to that emergency call. I emailed Marion Fire Chief Chuck Deem for a response to this lawsuit, but he told me he'd been directed by the city attorney to offer no comment. We also contacted the city attorney, and this is what he had to say.
Because it's a pending lawsuit, I'm not going to make any comment at this time.
Documents related to the case show the medics deny the allegations against them. In a legal response to the Goodrich family lawsuit, the two medics said they did not perform life-saving attempts because Joshua did not present signs of life. When asked if they would have done anything differently, the two medics said no.
What is your reaction to that?
That brings me right back to how many other families have buried people because this paramedic's playing God.
This case comes down to whether or not Joshua's injuries were survivable. According to Marion County EMS protocols, medics can skip resuscitation and other efforts in certain cases when they don't believe someone will survive their injury. So we took this case to two independent experts.
I'm an attending emergency physician with over 15 years of experience.
Dr. Brooks Walsh says Joshua's injuries were extensive.
It's never 100% predictable whether someone is going to live or die. But in this case, Mr. Goodrich suffered what were at least devastating wounds to his head.
But he added that he still showed some signs of life. To determine if the medics made the right call, Dr. Walsh says that critical context is missing about the phone call between them and the doctor.
There are still a lot of questions here about what happened and how it was understood by other folks.
It's an opinion that EMS educator and attorney Eric Yeager shares.
We've seen cases similar to this where the information the paramedics shared wasn't complete. Provide the physician with a clear clinical picture, in which case the physician's instructions may not have been appropriate. And we've seen situations where the paramedic does provide a clear clinical picture and the physician decides to deviate from the standard protocols.
He's still breathing right now.
But this is what Yeager says he does know.
Under the protocols you shared with me, it's pretty clear that the right move for this kind of call, if they're still alive, they still have breathing, they still have a heartbeat, that the right next step would be to assess and resuscitate and transport that patient.
And Yeager adds that cases like this one could lead to a review of EMS protocols across the country.
Perhaps protocols will change in the future, but I think that would require more training for paramedics in how to identify injuries that truly were not likely to be incompatible with life, but 100% were incompatible with life.
Right now, this case is on track to have a jury decide who is right. In the studio, Rochelle Aline, 10 TV News.
Kissing bugs, they're not new to Ohio, but they're also not very common here. The concern is over what they can carry. Researchers now calling the disease they can carry an endemic.
And they're called kissing bugs because they will come and try to bite like near your lips while you're sleeping.
Just under an inch long with piercing mouth parts, kissing bugs are gaining attention because they can carry a parasite that causes Chagas disease. If untreated, it could be life-threatening, But people can also have it without ever knowing.
So a lot of times it's asymptomatic, and that is a problem.
Kissing bugs do bite, but the disease is spread by the feces of infected bugs. In Ohio, there have been no kissing bugs found with the parasite causing Chagas disease, but people have been infected in other states.
There has to be awareness among general public that if you notice something like that early, don't ignore, try to talk to your physician or an expert, try to get help.
Ohio State entomologist Megan Muty says these bugs are often found in wooded areas and tend to go after small animals over humans.
So the few cases that we've had of people finding them in their homes usually have like some kind of rodent infestation as well and live near those wooded areas.
Experts say if you find one of these bugs, don't squish it. They say to put it in the freezer or rubbing alcohol to preserve the bug so it can be tested. Reporting in Columbus, Catherine Simon, 10 TV News.
Well, I really don't know what I'm going to do now, though, honestly.
31-year-old Taylor Hegger says she's turned to Planned Parenthood for her primary health care needs since she was 14.
I do like yearly exams there as far as like breast exams, pap smears, and like STD checks.
Now she's one of nearly 22,000 patients who will have to pay out of pocket for these services or find a new provider that accepts Medicaid.
I don't have the money to pay for that out of pocket, which I'm sure most people don't, even working.
The change comes after a federal court lifted a preliminary injunction enforcing a Trump-era rule to defund Planned Parenthood. Advocates say this has nothing to do with abortion, since Medicaid already cannot be used to pay for abortion services in Ohio.
It just impacted people's ability to get to good preventative health care and to treat their urgent health care needs.
Planned Parenthood of Greater Ohio CEO Erica Wilson-Domer says it's not so simple for patients to find another doctor.
A lot of private providers will not accept Medicaid for payment of services, making it even more challenging for people to find a provider.
Wilson-Domer says this will punish the state's poorest residents.
It's deeply troubling because our Medicaid patients are our most vulnerable populations. And so to have their healthcare options restricted is just punishing populations for economics.
She predicts patients will delay care or skip it altogether, which could cost even more.
The Congressional Budget Office said that removing Planned Parenthood from the Medicaid program would actually cost the federal government an additional $300 million more than what they are today.
She also says this will impact Ohioans beyond those on Medicaid.
Because those patients not having affordable options, not having care, means that they go other places. And often that means an ER, that means a hospital, some other setting. And those costs get passed on to everybody else. So don't think it doesn't impact you. It absolutely does.
Hegger says she doesn't know where she'll go now.
I don't even know where to start.
Just hours before OSU kicked off with Grambling State, Columbus police officers ran for your safety. Columbus police say they were called for a fight to East 13th Avenue and Pearl Alley. Get on the ground! There were several witnesses who helped Columbus police quickly identify a suspect, and several officers were close by. Columbus police stopped this 17-year-old suspect in his tracks. CPD says they found a 19-year-old man shot. He's expected to be okay.
He was holding the of his waistband.
Columbus police searched the teen suspect.
There it is. Yep. Go.
Students on campus say they hadn't heard about the shooting.
I heard nothing about it. This is the first time I heard about it.
Sophomore Teresa Gillis says she takes safety seriously around campus.
Out and about, I always have my headphones, but I always try and keep one out or keep it low down. And then when I'm out at night, I'm always just checking around me. And I try and stay on campus when I'm walking around at night, especially.
The 17-year-old, who 10 TV is not naming because of his age, has been charged in the past with attempted robbery.
The police are running after you. Should probably stop when I say stop.
Mosquito bites in Ohio. We've all had them. Usually they're just a nuisance or cause some itching here and there, but one mosquito bite turned into something far worse than any mother could have expected. 5-year-old Emily is now out of the hospital. She spent a week dealing with brain swelling and seizures after contracting La Crosse. Nationwide Children's Hospital doctors say most people infected won't show symptoms, but children are more likely to get complications. Christy M. said she never imagined this would happen to her loved one. She's urging parents to stay alert.
Sometimes as parents, we don't know when the moment has become serious enough to call for help.
Emily is expected to recover with no long-term complications. Reporting in Columbus, Krista McFarland, 10 TV News.
This tragedy is raising awareness for a free resource that families can use when vulnerable loved ones go missing. It's called Project Lifesaver. An urgent response to find a 3-year-old boy with autism in Etna Township ending in tragedy. Deputy Karen Dunlap responded to the devastating scene.
Yesterday broke my heart.
Deputy Dunlap is in charge of Project Lifesaver in Licking County.
When that child or that person goes missing, this will lead us right to them.
Project Lifesaver offers these bracelets with a battery-operated radio transmitter to people at risk of wandering off.
I feel like anybody that has that cognitive disorder that makes them wander should have this.
When a person goes missing, every second counts. Deputy Dunlap explained a missing person on Project Lifesaver will automatically trigger a bigger response.
Time is not our friend when a loved one goes missing, especially when we have woods and ponds and highways and things like that. The quicker we can find them, the quicker we can not have any type of distress in whether it's the person that's missing or the family itself.
Parents and caregivers must test the bracelets each day to make sure they're working. And Deputy Dunlap travels around the county to change the batteries every 60 days.
The more safety you have with your family and with your child and your loved one, the better off you are.
There are nearly 100 people here in Licking County that are signed up for Project Lifesaver. To sign up your loved one, the first step is to call your local Department of Disabilities. Reporting in Licking County, Carla Rogner, 10 TV News.
Two teenagers went and told a Johnstown police officer who was at the game they got into a fight with another teen. When police took that teen into custody, that's when they found the airsoft gun. Under the Friday night lights.
Sarge, his bag.
Instead of cheering on the teams,
You have anything else on you? No.
this 16-year-old was taken into custody by police for trespassing and having an airsoft gun on high school grounds.
He's trespassed. He was told to leave and he was standing over here and didn't leave. That's why he got arrested. There's an airsoft gun in there. Supposedly he was brandishing it.
Because of his age, 10 TV is not naming the teen. He's not a student at Johnstown High School and has been told before he's not allowed on the property. According to an incident report, he started fighting with two kids and they told a nearby police officer.
Do be a tattletale. Do tell. It's not a kid's responsibility to decide what is important and what is not important.
In a statement to 10 TV, Superintendent Dr. Philip Wagner wrote, multiple Johnstown Police Department officers were present during the incident on September 5th, alongside several school district administrators, some of whom interacted with police during their investigation. While our comprehensive district safety plans are not publicly shared to maintain their integrity, this summer, our video surveillance system was upgraded to include an AI component. This new feature identifies and issues alerts concerning specific individuals who are prohibited from school premises. Brittany Overmeyer's 4 kids don't go to Johnstown, but she says she's glad the district put safety first.
First of all, take them into custody, figure out what's really going on here, what are we dealing with to keep everybody safe. I think they handled that fantastic.
That teen is scheduled to be back in court in October. In Johnstown, Lacey Crisp, 10 TV News.
That's a wrap on this week's edition of Around Columbus, your look at the stories shaping Central Ohio. Thanks for spending time with us. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget, you can always get the latest updates on the go with the free 10 TV News app.
That toddler's death comes just 5 days after a 9-month-old boy was critically injured in an Italian village.
The baby's mother, 29-year-old Billy Joe Tustin, now behind bars, charged with felonious assault. Tonight, we're pushing for answers in the child abuse case.
TED TV's Colin Dorsey is here with us now after sitting down with Franklin County Children's Services this afternoon to talk about this case. Colin, were there any warning signs out there?
Well, Jeff, Yolanda, Billy Joe Tustin has been in the system for some time. Her daughter was in someone else's care for more than a year, but Tustin was supposed to go to court this week to make her case that she had done the work to get her daughter back and didn't need the oversight of Children's Services. Some of the people, though, closest to her say the signs were always there.
She also admitted to throwing him shorter distances several times, along with spanking and slapping him when she got frustrated.
Friday, a Franklin County prosecutor told a judge Billy Joe Tustin abused her 9-month-old son. 2 other people close to the mother and her children say they were worried. I took their concerns to Franklin County Children's Services today. It's my understanding that Ms. Tustin had some prior reports of abuse on her. So when we look at why didn't we remove that 9-month-old, why didn't we remove both children?
This is someone who, by all accounts, when you look at those around her, were saying that she had gotten to a point where they were ready to not have Children's Services involved.
When it comes to removing a child from a home, Children's Services says it's not as easy as it seems. There's a lot that goes into that decision, including Ohio law. It's also difficult for social workers, police, or the courts to get a full picture of what's happening inside a home unless abuse is reported when it happens. The boyfriend who talked to us said she had thrown the child before, but he didn't report it.
That hurts my heart and my head to hear that. It hurts my heart to know that this child was treated that way, but it hurts my head thinking that this is a community full of resources, full of organizations and entities ready to help any family, and it is just a phone call away.
Can you confidently say nothing slipped through the cracks?
When incidents like these happen, as a community, we should pause. Not necessarily to point blame at any one caseworker or agency or the system, but really to pause and say, what can we as a community do better to change, to help families kind of avoid these crises, whatever it may be, that is putting a child at risk?
And it really comes down to, if you see something, say something. If you have concerns, don't wait until it's too late to raise them with someone. This interview was about 15 minutes on this case, and it'll be available online later. Jeff, Yolanda, back to you.
The effort to redraw Ohio's political maps for U.S. congressional districts officially started today.
The Joint Committee on Congressional Redistricting held its first public hearing. 10 TV political reporter Doug Petcash sat in on the hearing and joins us now live from the State House with what happened. Doug?
Well, Yolanda and Jeff, it lasted more than 3 hours today. This was the first chance the public had to weigh in on the process to redraw Ohio's 15 U.S. congressional districts. Democrats and Republicans also went back and forth on one map that was proposed and another that wasn't. For 3.5 hours Monday, Ohioans testified before the Joint Committee on Congressional Redistricting. They spoke out against gerrymandering and for fair maps.
This isn't just about politics. It is about life and death.
We should be talking about the process and not the fact that we're separate parties and we're just tired. We're so exhausted by this.
Many testified in favor of the map proposed by the Democrats, seen here on the right. It would create 8 districts that favor Republicans and 7 that favor Democrats. Under the current map on the left, Republicans hold 10 of Ohio's 15 seats in the U.S. Congress.
They don't all meet my demands, but clearly bad faith of the Republicans by not having a map here today limits my preference for a map.
Republicans have not yet put forward a map, something Democrats emphasized several times.
We've done our part. We've released our maps, and now we're asking Republicans to release theirs. We're asking them to release their maps so we can continue this process and get the ball rolling on passing fair, constitutional maps for the state of Ohio.
Republicans say they are following the constitutional process and taking public input.
Republicans will be following the Constitution. And when we propose our map, I'm sure we will make it public. We are going through the process as required now. We had our first hearing. We will have a second hearing.
Neither side expects to pass a bipartisan map by the September 30th deadline.
My opinion, it was a dog and pony show. I mean, this was for the benefit of you, is for the people that came in here. If you think they're going to look at anybody's submitted maps, I think same odds that I root for the team up north in football this year. That's not going to happen.
We were told a week ago by the Democrats that the only map that is acceptable is an 8-7 map. So if an 8-7 map is the only one acceptable, then how are we going to get that done by September 30th? It makes it very unlikely, and it pushes the envelope to a potential November vote.
That next public hearing will likely be next week. Now, if the legislature does not pass a bipartisan map by the end of September, then the process moves over to the Ohio Redistricting Commission, which will have to try to pass a bipartisan map by the end of October. But as you heard, neither side expects that to happen, and they expect this to go into November. We'll keep on top of it, of course. Live at the State House, Doug Petcash, 10 TV News.
Kissing bugs, they're not new to Ohio, but they're also not very common here. The concern is over what they can carry. Researchers now calling the disease they can carry an endemic.
And they're called kissing bugs because they will come and try to bite like near your lips while you're sleeping.
Just under an inch long with piercing mouth parts, kissing bugs are gaining attention because they can carry a parasite that causes Chagas disease. If untreated, it could be life-threatening, but people can also have it without ever knowing.
So a lot of times it's asymptomatic, and that is the problem.
Kissing bugs do bite, but the disease is spread by the feces of infected bugs. In Ohio, there have been no kissing bugs found with a parasite causing Chagas disease, but people have been infected in other states.
There has to be awareness among general public that if you notice something like that early, don't ignore, try to talk to your physician or an expert, try to get help.
Ohio State entomologist Megan Muty says these bugs are often found in wooded areas and tend to go after small animals over humans.
So the few cases that we've had of people finding them in their homes usually have like some kind of rodent infestation as well and live near those wooded areas.
Experts say if you find one of these bugs, don't squish it. They say to put it in the freezer or rubbing alcohol to preserve the bug so it can be tested. Reporting in Columbus, Catherine Simon, 10 TV News.